G'day, guys. Welcome to episode 79 of Beyond the Finish Line, the podcast for runners of every pace, every distance, and every goal. This is an emergency podcast. We are 4 days out from Sydney Marathon, and we need to help you guys. We need to stop you freaking out. We need to stop you panicking. We've got 96 hours till you run, so Georgia and I decided we're going to put all the fears to bed. G, Millie, how you doing?
We're good.
For everyone who's not watching, like, Millie is making her appearance on the podcast, so I suggest you go over to YouTube and check it out. But yeah, G, Millie, how you doing?
We're good. Not that you can really see too much of Millie right now. As Matt just said, it looks like I'm wearing denim overalls because I have her strapped to me right now. We got to do what we got to do in this life. I gave her to Nick, and she just was not having a bar of him. So she's strapped to me. We're standing up. I have a carrier on, and we're going to power through it because there's no way we're missing this.
She's starting a brand journey, a content creation journey early.
She is. And as Matt said, we are trying to put all of your fears to bed for the marathon this weekend. And so this is a big emergency episode of all the things that you guys are freaking out about. And we're going to help you with that. But before we get to that, I'm really good. Things are good. We're getting into the groove of things. Obviously last week's episode we recorded and I had Millie then, but didn't quite go as successful as I wanted with poor Nick having a screaming baby for the entire podcast. So today we're doing everything we can to mitigate that because my anxiety was through the roof. So yes, today if you're on YouTube, she's in the carrier asleep. So hopefully this, continues to work.
We're being optimistic, guys. So if all of a sudden we cut out and then we come back, it's because Millie wasn't enjoying the episode and we had to change topics.
And hopefully this time Matt edits that part out.
Oh.
Anyway,
Great
only
engagement.
those who know. Great engagement. How are you, Matt? You had a very eventful weekend. Do you want to tell everyone about what happened to you?
Yeah, sure. So I've been having a great week. Training was going fantastic. Everything was just going along really well, feeling really good. And I was in such a good mood that I was like, I'm going to treat myself to a couple of things. And I gave Sam the classic line of, I'm just going to Bunnings for a look. I just need to pick up, a couple of small things.
Some nails.
Yeah, just some nails and a screw or something. Anyway, spent way too much money, came back with a garden shed, came back with a new toolbox, like shoe racks, bedside tables. Like I went overboard. Got
you sound like my dad.
3 snag sangers. It was a great weekend. Anyway, call up Sam's brother. I'm like, mate, do you come over and help me build this shed? And he owed me one because I helped him build a shed, and halfway through building that shed, we started getting hailed on, and we had to finish building it. So anyway, he comes over, and we're like, all right, let's build this friggin' shed. We've got 2 panels left, so the whole shed's built. We've got to put the second roof panel on and the doors. I'm holding this roof panel above my head. Bren goes, yeah, it's in place. You're good. And I'm like, sweet. Let go of the panel, turn around. Panel falls, the corner of the roof panel, 13 centimeter laceration on my calf, straight above my Achilles. 17 stitches later. And the doctor said, like, you were so close to the top of the cut is so close to the edge of the Achilles tendon. If you had have nicked it, you wouldn't have needed Achilles, like when you tear your Achilles as an athlete, but you would have still needed reconstructive surgery and wouldn't have been able to do anything for 6 months. So she's like, you were less than a centimeter away from that. So when you hear all of that, it sounds super full on and everything, but it's I actually feel pretty good about it. Unfortunately, Ironman Western Australia is a true 50-50 at the moment, which is, I'm trying to be really optimistic and really positive about it. Just based on where the laceration is. Basically, every time I move my foot, the stitches try and open. It's right on the flexion point of the calf muscle. So there's definitely no swimming. There's definitely no running for 2 weeks. I am being super optimistic that I might be able to get on the bike for 2 weeks and just cycle a lot. If I'm able to cycle, then I will still commit to Ironman WA. But if you guys remember, I lost 4 weeks of training being in the moon boot post UTA. I lost 3 weeks from being sick. And now I'm going to potentially lose another 2 weeks. And for the OG listeners who have gone through the whole sub 10 journey with me, you know how seriously I take it and how I wouldn't, losing that much training, I wouldn't feel good. I wouldn't feel 100% confident. I feel I'd be lying to people saying like, yeah, I'm 100% ready to go. So I basically sort of got 48 hours to work out if sub 10 in December is still a thing or it's not, which is like really upsetting, but also like is what it is.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, this sub 10 is like, as you've always said, it's your not last ditch effort, but your last big effort to really get that sub 10. And you really want to be able to put in a proper training block for that. And I know you've already lost so much with the boot and now this and all the other things. Like, you know, Cairns last year, you had your arm and everything that was not great. I agree. I think 50-50 decision is such a good idea and you just need to wait and see what happens. But it just sucks because, like, I was so excited for you. You just released that new content piece where you and the 2 other girls are fighting it out to the finish.
Yeah. The Beat the Coach series is going to be cool.
Yeah, honestly, such a cool content piece. I was so excited to see that come out. So, sorry.
It's all right. Millie doesn't like Beat the Coach. She's cheering for the girls.
But yeah, yesterday Nick said to me, he's like, what happened to Matt? Like, he just posted it to say he's like in hospital getting stitches. And I was like, I don't know, man. He doesn't tell me anything.
George is still on maternity leave. I'm not allowed to talk to her outside of the podcast. She yells at me.
No, I don't. So yes, I'm glad you're okay. It sucks about, you know, Busso, but hopefully, you know, it's okay. And I don't know. I don't even know if I want to say I have a good feeling because I just don't know. I just think I really want you to have a really good training block for this. And I just don't think it's what you want to be able to have an injury and have to wait 2 weeks and not give it everything you want. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate set of circumstances. I'm not like... I'm annoyed more than anything because like I felt like I was just coming into some good fitness, like, and it's not like... It's just this weird thing where it's like, it's not definitive. Like I'm still, if I lose 2 weeks, I'm still 13 weeks out. There's still a lot of time to get fitness, but like, it's also sub 10 is so hard, like, at least on my level of ability, it's so hard to get to. And like, could I get there? Maybe. Could I also like, and then if I didn't, would I be like, if I had that extra 2 weeks, like if I went 10:03 or 10:05 or 10:10, you'd be like, if I had those 2 weeks, I would have got it. And you just would be like, gutted. And it's just like all the mental games start playing, and it's a whole thing.
It is, yeah, definitely. 13 weeks to me doesn't seem like a lot of time, especially when, you know, it's such a big goal. But that's life. Shit happens.
That's it.
Unfortunately, you've just had a bit of a bad run the last 6 months, or
last
18 months,
year.
really.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But
anyway, it is what it is.
It'll come back around.
Yeah. Besides that being probably your low for the week, is there a high for the week? I know you said you were having a good training run, but...
I feel like I was coming into some really good fitness. I mean, I still could be coming into some really good fitness, depending on what happens in the next couple of days. But the bikes, like everything's starting to tick up. So if I'm able to, like I said, if I'm still able to cycle and I can just sort of not lose anything over the next 2 weeks and then come back, we'll be... I'll be very, very happy. Like highs are like, I'm still healthy. Like everything's still good. Business is still good. Like I have no real low. Like there's nothing really to complain about.
True.
All right, guys, we are back. Millie she wasn't playing ball. She wasn't happy with the podcast. She said, you guys have to change topics. Otherwise I'm going to bed. And we said, we're not changing topics. So we put her to bed. I was just saying to Georgia off air, she was being very apologetic, being like, thank you for being so accommodating. Yeah, so sorry about Millie. I'm like, Millie is now part of the journey. We've gone through pre-pregnancy. We've gone through pregnancy. Now we have Millie. She's a part of the podcast. She's a part of the team. And we're just going to have to get used to life with Millie. So if we have to pause it, to put her to bed or whatever, like the listeners will understand. It's all good.
Yeah, look, you're right. I need to remember that. But also I'm a bit like, you know, come on, I've got to be professional. But, you know, When have we ever
What
been
about our
that
podcast is
professional?
professional? Why are we starting at episode 79?
Yes, no, I had to just give Nick Millie because she just was waking up. I was just saying to Matt that I hadn't quite gotten her into a deep enough sleep in the carrier that she didn't care that I was talking, but she could hear me. So her little eyes were like pinging open, like, what are you guys doing? So, yes, Millie is definitely part of the team now, and I just need to find some ways to make it work moving forward.
Yeah. Take us through highs and lows though, G. Let's get into the episode.
Yeah, highs and lows. Look, lows, there's not really any lows this week. I think just trying to manage, as what we've just talked about, like trying to manage my life with Millie now. I think before I never really thought about the logistics of having a baby and having my own kind of business, having a podcast, working with TPP, all of these things. Everything just takes a lot longer now. So I'm just trying to navigate that because it is trickier than I thought, especially, just with a podcast, just being like, well, I need to find out a way to make this work because every week I'll have Millie, like Nick will be at work. So, just working that out, but not really a low. It's just life stuff. And high this week, as I said, I feel like I'm kind of nailing this parent stuff. I say that, but tomorrow it could be horrendous. But I do feel like, sitting here recording a podcast with my baby on me is pretty cool. And I need to remind myself of that. And also we have a huge weekend ahead with Sydney Marathon, and I'm really excited for that. We have our Shakeout run coming. We've got some awesome sponsors on board. And I'm just excited to see everyone from our community, from the TPP community. It's going to be really cool. So that's a kind of preemptive high, but I'm riding the high now until then.
Do you want to give everyone the Shakeout run details?
Yes, I do. So Saturday morning, the 29th, we are hosting a Shakeout run with TPP. So all of our community members who are doing the marathon and those who are in Sydney and want to come along, we are doing that. It's at 8:30 a.m. at Black and White Espresso Bar in the Rocks. So we're going to start there, and then there's going to be a 30 to 40 minute easy run around the harbour. The team will be taking everyone from the Rocks over to the Opera House, past the finishing line. We're going to head over to Mrs. Macquarie's chair and back again. And yeah, we really hope you guys can come along.
Open to everyone.
Last year was such a big success. We had lots of people messaging us this year to say, hey guys, are you hosting another Shakeout run? I know there are a lot of Shakeout runs happening in the city, but a lot of them, though, I do feel like people feel a bit intimidated by because they're probably bigger brands and stuff like that. It can be a bit scary. So, if you've never been to a Shakeout run and you want to do one, this is your chance because I feel like, you guys know us. We'll both be there. I'll be there with Millie, and you guys can come say hi to us, rip the Band-Aid off your first Shakeout run and just feel part of the community and feel a little bit more included than maybe you might feel somewhere else because it might be a bit scary or daunting. We'll help you get over that and do your first one. So it'll be fun. And then, we'll get back to the Rocks after the run and everyone can have a coffee and catch up and shake out some nerves. And you guys can ask us questions, ask Matt questions, whether that be about the marathon or coaching or the podcast, whatever it is, we'll be there.
Yep, we'll be kicking about. All the coaches will be there too. We'll have videographer. We'll have a whole bunch of stuff. It'll be a really cool event. We're trying to do things a little bit differently. But on that, if you are looking for coaching post Sydney Marathon, performanceproject.com.au. Link is in the show notes. You can work with me, you can work with Ant, you can work with Zoe, hang out with Georgia, come to all these community events. You can meet Millie. We are opening up 10 spots post Sydney Marathon because we're about to hire a fourth coach, which is wild. So we'll be opening up 10 more spots. So if you want to be in those first 10 post Sydney Marathon, I suggest you get in early.
Yeah, because last year post-marathon, we had a massive kind of uptick in people wanting to...
Went crazy.
Yeah, it did. And so the 10, I know it might sound like a lot to you guys, but 10 will go really quickly. So, we'd love to have you on board. For
context, we... from the end of Sydney Marathon to mid-October, we had 130 applicants last year.
There you go.
So the 10 is not a lot.
It's not a lot at all. So message us guys or come and chat to us at the Shakeout run if you're coming down. And we can run you through it. It'd be really cool to see you and meet you, and you can be part of the team as well.
Absolutely. Emergency podcast. This is where if people are listening to this, if we haven't calmed them down yet just through our banter. Um, we need to go through the essentials. Like, what, as an athlete, Sydney Marathon last year, what were you freaking out about in like the last 72, 96 hours leading into the race?
Couple of key things I was definitely freaking out about was, am I nailing my carb load? That was always a big one for me pre-races. You know, is the carb load enough? Have I done enough? Have I had enough electrolytes? That sort of stuff. And also trusting my training and knowing that I have put in the work and it's going to get me to the finish line. I know a lot of people are doing Sydney for their first marathon this year. So running through their minds, and what ran through my mind for my first marathon was, oh my God, am I going to be able to get to the 42? At the time, I'd only done 32. And so that's a 10 kilometers of unknown. And so that was a really big one for me, just not knowing whether or not the training has got me through. Another big one for me, and the last one I'll say, is what if I have a really shit night's sleep the night before? So
Good one.
nerves, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the three key ones that I would think, you know, ran through my head, and what might run through your heads, guys, before the race. Matt, have I missed any?
I think another big one is people worrying about maybe exercising too much, like worrying like their shakeout run is going to potentially fatigue them. Like, should I have a rest day the day before? Like, should I skip these runs? I think that's a big one, and I think especially in newer athletes really underestimate the value and the importance of those runs to keep the engine ticking over, to keep all those neuromuscular connections firing. The other one I would say is, it kind of leans into your one, Georgia, where you said, like, am I going to be able to do it? That nervous energy.
Yeah.
Your brain uses so much glycogen, right? So, like, that's how your brain works. It's absorbing carbohydrates, uses way more than running. If you're spending a lot of energy just thinking about the marathon, thinking about training, thinking about all these things, by the time you get to the marathon, you're going to be cooked. So a big one for me is like just being at peace with what has happened. Natural to be a little bit nervous, but like, don't amplify that. That would be my other big one.
Okay, well, let's kind of deep into those topics. I think the first one we should jump into, just coming off the back of this shakeout run that we've just talked about, let's talk about kind of that week. I guess this is coming out on Wednesday, so you've only got a few days to think about this, but like, let's talk about those few days and how doing a shakeout run actually is, you know, not going to hinder you. And, you know, maybe we can put some like rest into people's minds about doing things like that while we're on the topic of shakeout runs. What would you suggest people are doing from Wednesday onwards?
So I kind of do a descending, and for my TPP athletes, take this with a grain of salt, you're all a little bit different, but basic principle, I do like a descending ladder. So I'll probably start Monday-ish at around 45 to an hour, depending on the athlete. Nice and easy, and then normally like 6 by 100 meters at marathon pace with maybe like a minute easy in between. Then Tuesday off, or Tuesday maybe some light activation in the gym, maybe some light mobility work. Wednesday, probably 45 to 40 minutes, again with that 6 by 1 minute, 1 minute or 100 meters, doesn't really matter. That's kind of the golden number in terms of strides. Then Thursday off. Friday, I'm probably taking it down to 40 to 30 minutes. Saturday, I'm doing anywhere from, again, depending on the athlete, 30, even all the way down to 15, depending on the athlete. But again, with some strides, make sure we're getting up to marathon pace or even just above marathon pace. And then trying to get those sessions done as early in the morning as possible. Doesn't have to be super early, but make sure you're giving yourself adequate time to eat, hydrate, do all the things afterwards so that the recovery in between is optimal.
Yeah, and just, you know, making sure Saturday afternoon you're really taking it nice and easy. You know, don't be going to the expo Saturday evening or something. Just keeping that sort of stuff minimal. But, you know, I've always done a shakeout run on a Saturday before a Sunday race. I usually do some on a Friday as well. I like to fit in a few community kind of events before a big race. So I'm sure whatever race you guys are doing, there's usually a shakeout run somewhere that you can do. This doesn't just apply for Sydney. But yeah, so 30 minutes to 15 minutes for a shakeout run on the Saturday. Our one in the city, guys, it's going to be very chill. So don't feel like, I know I mentioned 30 to 40 minutes, but by the time you kind of get around the Opera House, see Benny the Seal if he's there, get to Mrs. McCory's chair, we take a photo, come back, all for the content. So that's nice to keep the legs ticking over. I know sometimes
it also just that it also depends on the intent of the session, right? Like a big group shakeout run, obviously the intensity is really low. You're chatting. There's probably it's very stop start. So like if you're kind of in one of those type of runs, if you're doing a big community run, add a little bit extra on. If you're just yourself, blinkers on, you're doing your own thing, and you just start stop, like that's where I would shorten it.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good to know. Sometimes when I've done shakeout runs in the past, I feel like my legs are super heavy and it plays with my mind mentally. What's that about? Because I feel like I've gone and done a shakeout run and then I'm like, oh my God, I can't even run 5K. How am I going to run a marathon? What's that about? Is that a mental thing or is that actually something happening that, my body's just doing to me?
It's interesting, right? Because there's not a huge amount of science or anything behind it that says this is the reason. Yet every athlete and every sport anecdotally reports the same thing.
Yeah.
Whether it is Kipchoge or whether it is Georgia doing sub 4 or someone doing their very, very first 5K. The day before the race, you feel lethargic, you feel tired. I personally believe most people, when they do their shakeout runs, and take this with a bit of a grain of salt, even in the last 2 weeks of taper, they're not coming at it with the same intensity and the same focus. So maybe their warm-ups aren't as diligent. They're like, oh, it's a 20-minute shakeout run. I'll just put the shoes on and go. Most people, you're probably just not warmed up by the time your shakeout run's done. If you really don't do any sort of warm-up and then you just start running, it could take 30 or 40 minutes before you're sort of moving okay, and sort of shakeout run, you're done before you've even warmed up. So I kind of sit in that camp where it's more mental and you just haven't given your body enough time versus it actually being something, something actually going on.
That's so true. I've never actually thought about that because you really probably don't warm up properly. You head to the shakeout run. I mean, we did a warm up last year, but you're probably chatting to the person next to you. You're like, oh, I'll do some sweeps. I'll do a couple of gate openers. Here's a lunge here and there. It's a bit half-assed. And I mean, I guess you're probably so used to doing such long runs that you've had that 30 minutes to get used to it or warm up, or 10 minutes.
You might run an hour before you get into the main part of the session. Other times. Yeah.
It's so true. So, that's a good point. Make sure you're doing a proper warm up before your shakeout runs. If not, just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
You mentioned the mental side of things. I just want to tick off your few things that you said. Coming into race day, it is a big mental challenge, and I know a lot of people find that really hard. That can really affect a lot of their aspect of coming into the race. I know you said that can take a toll on your body. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of athletes build it up in their head. They start worrying about all of the unknown, which is completely normal, especially first-time runners. And this is probably, I would say this is more directed at first-time runners and runners who have a really, really audacious goal and maybe don't think they can necessarily get it.
Yeah.
So, because that's where that self-doubt comes from. Runners who are like Georgia when she went for her sub 4, the last time and she got it, there was no nervous energy. She was like, I got this. And she was super calm. I think, but then if we look back to Gold Coast, Georgia, the year before, she was a nervous wreck. And that's because she was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Even Sydney Marathon 2024 that is probably another really, where we were aiming for sub 4, but I came short 39 seconds. And that definitely, I didn't believe I could do it. And so that mindset really hindered me on the day.
Yeah. So whenever you have those doubts and those nerves, it just sort of eats it. It's kind of like death by a thousand cuts, because you are actually thinking about this a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out. It's like, okay, like peak week's over, like this thing's coming whether I like it or not. And there's nothing you can do to change the result. Like you can't get any fitter. Obviously, we spoke about like how important your taper period is and being focused in last week's episode. But realistically, there's nothing you can do to increase your top end. So you start thinking about it. You start going through all the sessions you missed, all the little things that you could have done better, and it eats away at you. By the time you get to the start line, you've essentially just been freaking out for 3 weeks, and you just like have this huge adrenaline dump, and you just don't perform. I think that's the easiest way of saying it without sort of getting into like the biochemistry of it. But you have this huge adrenaline dump, and then halfway through you're just like absolutely cooked. Just like you've got nothing left. You've got where your adrenaline should be kicking in and be like, all right, like 20 Ks to go, 10 Ks to go, like let's fucking get into it. You're kind of like, your body's just got nothing left to give. And your central nervous system is just done. So I think it's really, really helpful. And this is definitely easier said than done, but trying to be at peace with, and Georgia has this saying, the hay is in the barn. Like, okay, like there is nothing more I can do, and that's it. And I just need to be okay with that. And I need to trust that I've done my training, trust that I've ticked all the boxes. And when I get there on race day, that I'll be able to put my best performance out there, whether that is hitting my goal or coming up a little bit short. Like, it's kind of irrelevant. You just need to trust that you're able to perform.
Yeah, and that has really helped me in the past, especially last year. Another thing that really helped me was visualizing that finish line and visualizing crossing that finish line, and a little bit of, I guess, manifesting it for myself and saying like, no, I've put the work in, I can do this. And when I originally started doing my content for Sydney, I used to say like, hey, I'm Georgia, and in August I'll be running Sydney Marathon and I hope to get sub 4. And then I changed my framing of how I used to say that, because every single video I did, I said that exact same saying. And I changed the framing around to be like, hi, I'm Georgia and I'm going to be running Sydney Marathon in sub 4 hours. And I changed it to a positive instead of it being something that was like, I might do it. It was like, no, I'm going to do it. And so maybe in the week leading up, you just need to really reiterate to yourself, like, no, I am going to do this. I am going to finish this marathon. I have put in the hard work. I am going to trust my training. I'm going to, or I'm going to trust my coach's knowledge, or whatever it might be that you need to say. Sometimes it's just changing that mindset that really helps, especially for me, in getting yourself across that finish line and just visualizing that finish. Because, if you start to go down the other track of being like, oh, I don't know, or oh God, what about that one?
It'll eat you alive.
It'll eat you alive for sure. And if you start visualizing that 130K long run you did where you couldn't quite finish it and it was really shit and, XYZ happened, that's when you start to come unstuck and, don't get yourself in that rabbit hole. Just start visualizing the finish. And I swear it really helps. So that's my biggest kind of thing for that, is just visualize.
Yeah. One thing, I actually had a conversation with one of our performance project athletes last week, Holly, and Holly's getting ready to do Sydney Marathon. She has no time goal. Her goal is just to go out there and run the race and finish the marathon and be really, really proud of that. But she was starting to deal with just that head noise, wondering if she could do it. And it kind of came up with this on the spot, but I was actually like really, really happy with it. And it's something I've told other athletes since is, I want you to write down all the things that you're scared of. I want you to write down all of the what ifs. Like, okay, what if you get to 21 kilometers and you can't take gels anymore and you're throwing up? Like, what if you get blisters? What if you trip and fall and scrape your knee? Except write everything that you're actually scared of. And then on the other side, write the worst case scenario. So it's like, okay, you fall and hurt your knee. It's like, can you walk 20 kilometers? Yeah, you fucking can. Like, you can finish that race. Are you throwing up from gels? Okay, like, can you go to the aid station and can you get Coke? Can you get a different type of gel? Can you get a different electrolyte? Like, are there other options? Yes. Okay, so you can finish that race. And it's like going through all of them. And when you actually write out the worst case scenario, there's actually such a small amount that result in DNF or result in something that is not what you wanted. It just starts to put a lot of those fears to bed that you're just like, okay, like it's actually not that bad. We just generally like catastrophize things in our head. And even if, and I want to emphasize this because a couple of those things do end in DNF. If you DNF, like it's not the end of the world. I've DNF'd an Ironman. Yes, it sucks. Yes, it's like it hurts and all the training feels like a waste, like all of those things. But at the end of the day, you just sign up for another race and be like, I'm just going to get redemption. Like, these are all the things that went wrong. And let's say it was a training thing. You weren't fit enough. You skipped your training, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, I'm going to train harder next time. I know all the mistakes I made. Or if it was a nutrition thing and you got really sick and you weren't able to finish, okay, like I know I need to practice my nutrition. It actually gives you the answers to the test for the next time you take the test. So there's actually like a lot of positives if you choose to look at it within a DNF. So that was a big thing I'm going to take forward, especially for my TPP athletes, is listening to like what they're actually scared of. But no, let's like take this to the absolute extreme. What is the worst case scenario? And like most of the time, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I've definitely done that before as well. And I love that. It's such a good point to make, is what is the worst case scenario? And I mean, a lot of people, worst case scenario is DNFing or injuring themselves really badly. But, you know, as Matt said, a lot of the kind of more common worst case scenarios is the, you know, nutrition and, you know, blisters, that kind of stuff. From experience, like, as Matt said, you really can get through it. You know, Nick got so sick at London Marathon. He was so incredibly unwell. He basically walked from 15K onwards. But we got through it, you know, like we took it in turns. I said, okay, we're just going to walk, you know, the next 10 minutes. And then from there, we're going to run 10 minutes. And we got, like, at the end of the day, we got to the finish line. It sucked. It was really hard, but we still finished it. And then we learnt so much from that. Nick learnt, you know, you never take a gel off the sideline if you've never tried that gel before. Like, there's so many different things that he learnt on the day that he now can pull forward for all of his other races. And he did that, and he pulled that forward to go and get his sub 3:30 that he wanted last year at Sydney. And for me, like, I know I've spoken a lot about Gold Coast and all the things I learnt from that. That was my worst case scenario. What if I get really sick and I can't finish the race? I got to 33. I nearly couldn't finish the race, but I did what Matt said. I walked to the water station. I had a big drink of water because that was what was available to me. And I made it through to the other side. After 20 minutes, I was completely fine and I could run the rest of the race. So, you know, sometimes your worst case scenario isn't as bad as what you think it might be. And as Matt said, it would be really helpful to write that down. So get it out of your head, put it on paper, rip it up or chew it and spit it out or burn it, whatever you need to do. Do that. And, you know, get it out of your head. Just kind of just be like, that's it. I'm done. It's like writing someone that you don't like a letter. It's like, just get it out of your system and then get rid of it. Like, you don't actually have to do anything with it. So, I just think there's so many different things that could go wrong, but also let's flip it and go, what are all the things that could go right as well? And, you know,
100%.
Maybe if you're writing down all the things that could go wrong, make sure you also write down all the things that could go right. You know, I have a really great day. I have so much fun. I finish my first marathon, or I get a big PB, or I finish my third marathon. You know, you might not get a PB, but you still finish the marathon. Like, that's
always
incredible.
a positive. Always a lesson.
Always. You know, I run a world major, which Sydney, you know, you get to run Sydney as a world major. Like, that in itself is amazing. And so take some positives as well. Write those down. If you're someone that really visually likes to do that stuff, visualize those. There's just so many wonderful things that can come from the day. So just don't feel like it has to be negative. Try and reframe it, as we've just said. And yeah, hopefully that helps.
The other thing, and we spoke about this on the TPP podcast that's coming out on Thursday, the day after this, was and I don't want to harp on the negatives to scare people or make them think that like it's gonna happen. But the negative side of endurance sports, it's a real factor. You've heard mine and George's stories for the last year and a half. But what is the purpose of endurance sports? It is to endure. So that means whether things are going right, whether things are going wrong, you must endure it to get the most out of it. So it's kind of tying into George's point about there's always a lesson. If things are going wrong and you quit, like you just go, I'm not willing to endure this, you kind of miss out on the lesson. So when things are going wrong, and if things are going wrong, endure through it, because chances are that there will be a positive on the other side. Like Georgia endured through Gold Coast Marathon and came out the other side and was like, okay, sweet. I now have that lesson to bring forward into Sydney. Nick endured through getting sick and having to do the walk run, and then he was able to have a fantastic performance at 3:26. Hopefully, I was able to endure through Cairns Ironman where I was very sick, and we'll be able to go sub 10 in Bustleton. But there is always a positive. So, and like the point is you got to weather the storm. You got to go through it, and that's how like you become a better endurance athlete. Not every race is a PB. Not every race is going to be smooth sailing. Like the whole point of endurance sports is to endure whatever you are dealt and be able to handle it. And that's what separates our sports from other sports, team sports, shorter distance events where less things can go wrong. It's like our ability to weather the storm for long periods of time.
That also ties back to the fact, like, let's not forget this is an endurance event. So,
I think people forget that. They just think it's like, I'm just going to go run the marathon. It's like, bro, you're probably going to be out there from anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. Like, that's a long time to just be copping haymakers. People are just trying to belt the shit out of you.
Yeah, like, let's not forget that, guys. So I really want everyone who is listening who is running the marathon to, or anyone who's training for anything really, to sit down and just really reflect on the fact that they're running a marathon or they're doing an endurance event. And like Matt said, you're enduring something. And let's not forget how hard it actually is. And, at this point, you've already put in the training, and the training is just as hard as the actual marathon. And so remember that and go, you know what? Like, just flip the script. Be like, fuck yeah, I absolutely nailed my training. I have done 34K long run and absolutely smashed it. Or I did a 30K long run and it was a bit shit, but I got through it. And I just think people just need to remember it is meant to be hard. And so don't stress if it's going to be hard, because it's meant to be. And when you get to the finish line and you've earned that medal, it's so much sweeter because it was hard. And so, just try and remember that as well, that it is a freaking marathon and it is really hard.
Yeah, I do think that's something we need to, you and I, Georgia, need to do better at checking ourselves on, because it's our work, it's our podcast, it's like our whole life. It is so, and social media too, obviously, but it's so normalized that we talk about a marathon like it is running down the street. And even though we do often say respect the distance, respect the race, respect the marathon, it is sometimes you just forget when you're just sort of talking through. It's like, no, like it's fucking 42.2 kilometers. It is 3 to 6 hours for the people listening to this podcast. Like, it's a huge thing.
Yeah, it is. And just on what you said there, where you and I both need to remember that. And you need to remember that for when you're doing busso, because an Ironman is a very big thing and doing it in sub 10 is very big. So don't forget that as well.
Yeah. I mean, as long as I beat Holly and Zoe, it doesn't really matter. Coach Matt for the win.
I don't know whose side I'm on there. I love everyone equally.
No, you've made your choice. I have the receipts.
What do you mean? What did I say?
I swear you commented on something being like, sorry, Matt, or whatever. I'm going for the girls.
Probably. Yeah. Another big one for the pre-marathon is not having a good night's sleep. Now, I've been here before where you have an absolute shocker. Sometimes it feels like Christmas is the next day. Sometimes it feels like impending doom is the next day. How do you suggest, you are the king of a good night's sleep. So what are your tips on getting a good night's sleep, and kind of what do you tell athletes if they have a shit night's sleep and on their day they turn up to the marathon and they've, not had optimal rest?
Yeah. So realistically, okay. And this is where I'm going to contradict myself. We just said how big a 3 to 6 hour event is, right? Like huge. If you have a shit night's sleep, we've all been out on the drink one night and then had to go to work the next day and put in a big shift, right? We've all done that. You can put your big boy socks on, non-performance obviously, and go and run for 3 to 6 hours. Like you can do that if you've had a shit night's sleep. Like you got a couple of hours, you carved up, have a shitload of coffee, get some caffeine in your system and go rip. Like there's that side of it where it's like, if you have a bad night's sleep, you're not gonna, would it be better to have a good night's sleep? Sure. But is it going to dramatically affect your performance? We can make do. Like you're going to be okay. That would be my advice for people who don't have a good night's sleep, because there have been plenty of races where I've woken up and my whoop's like, you're 1% recovered, and you've had like 40 minutes of sleep. Coffee, carb up, get it out of your head, go rip. Once that adrenaline kicks in too, you'll be good as gold. You won't even feel tired. On the other side of things, I think the trick to having a really, really good night's sleep prior to the race is what we were just speaking about before, is like being really at peace with, I've spent the whole week or 2 weeks preparing my mind to be like, hay is in the barn, the work is done, I've taken all the boxes, I'm good to go. And like being really, really confident in that performance. If you're confident in that performance, you got nothing that's going to keep you up at night. We spoke about last week about having like all your gear packed and everything like ready to go the next day. If you've ticked all those boxes, all your food's ready, everything's good, like no reason not to kip. Like you'll be good.
Yeah, that's definitely very true in making sure that you've ticked all those boxes so that there's nothing to actually worry about. I did some a little bit of research before I jumped on the pod, just because I know I'd read somewhere a while ago about how, a good night's sleep versus a poor night's sleep actually doesn't affect you on race day. And I found the study that I read about, and it was in 2007, and there was this paper done by Thomas Riley and Ben Edwards at the Research Institute of Sport and Exercise Science, and they basically tested the impact of sleep on performance. And the data that they collected from the study suggested that while your actual mental cognition was lessened, so your brain capacity, you feel a bit foggy in the head, the physiological markers of endurance performance were surprisingly stable. And so they tested leg strength, fatigue resistance, and oxygen demand at various speeds on a treadmill over a long distance, and all of them were completely unaffected by a poor night's sleep. And there was also another study done where some guys basically put a bunch of guys who had had a really poor night's sleep on bikes, and then a bunch of guys who'd had a really good night's sleep on bikes, and they tested their markers for it, and both of them came off like really well. And so if you are going to have a bad night's sleep, just remember that there's actually quite a bit of study to know that like one poor night's sleep doesn't actually affect you on the day, which I thought was really cool. And that's helped me in the past, because I read that pre-Sydney Marathon last year, and I knew that if I had a shit night's sleep, it's okay. It's actually not going to affect me on the day too much. It's just going to be that little bit of mental fogginess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Cool.
And there's also some studies. I don't know. I know a lot came out when they were hyped, but I don't know if they've been peer reviewed yet, about the use of creatine if you've had a really bad sleep or you sleep deprived.
Okay.
So
Yep.
most people have 5 grams of creatine per day. That's sort of the standard dose. What the studies suggest is, and guys, please do your own research on this and probably don't test it race day. But keep this in your pocket for future race days. Is up 20 to 25 grams after having a really, really poor night's sleep actually gives you it brings back the mental cognition for a short window of time. I don't know if it's 6 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours, but like a short window of time. And so if you partner that with what Georgia said, how there was no real dip in physical performance, if you have a bad night's sleep, there is kind of a remedy to sort of get you through a race day situation if you're that worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on creatine. I know obviously it can help. There's the big study that they did on Alzheimer's and creatine, and that's obviously big brain stuff. So, something to look into for the future. If it's something that, maybe you wake up on race day and you've had a shit night's sleep, maybe that's something you can then look at for the next race to be like, okay, I remember Matt said that this is something I could potentially do for the future. So, yeah, super cool. I love all that sort of stuff. I love a bit of like a research and
biohacking.
stats. Yeah, a bit of biohacking. Okay, cool. And our last one is making sure we get our good carb load in. We have a lot of people who constantly freaking out about carb loading. What are, I guess, your big main tips for carb loading? I know we talk about this a lot, guys, but we get a lot of questions about it, so we have to keep going over it again.
It's important because I think this like really makes or breaks a lot of athletes, because I think for the majority of athletes, it's their first carb load Even athletes who have done marathons before don't necessarily carb load.
Yeah.
And I think the way nutrition, especially with, we have a heavy female listenership. Women fueling is becoming more and more popular, or at least more and more prominent on social media, which I think is fantastic. Something obviously we push really hard at TPP. They read whatever it says on the internet, so 8 to 9 grams or 10 to 12 grams for men, 8 to 9 grams for women, and they just jump to that extreme. I really like to start less is more. So I was actually talking to one of our athletes this morning, said this exact thing, hadn't practiced any carb loading. She's literally just joined TPP in the last couple of weeks to prepare for an Ironman, but Sydney Marathon is like just happened to be on her calendar. And I was like, oh, cool. Previous coach, did you do any nutrition practice? She was like, no, I didn't. I was like, okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're not going to jump to 8 to 9. I want you to do 6 to 7 for day one.
Yeah.
6 to 7 grams of carbohydrates per kilo of body weight, guys. See how you feel. If you're feeling bloated, if you're feeling heavy, if you feel like you're retaining water, just keep it at 6 to 7. And maybe even front load your carbohydrates during the day, having that lighter dinner, which Georgia and I have spoken about multiple times, and keeping it at that. If 6 to 7 feels good, you can go to 7 to 8. I don't really think you need to go to 8 to 9 for your first carb load. If you were able to do 72 hours, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 7 to 8 again, good as gold. If you feel 100% fantastic on 7 to 8, you can go 8 to 9. And then for the blokes, the exact same thing, 8 to 9, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. For the guys, or even the girls can listen to this, I generally go on the lighter side and go even an extra day. That works really well for me. So I would start carb loading for a Sunday race. Wednesday lunchtime would probably be where I kind of start it. And I would be around 8, maybe 9 grams of carbohydrates per kilo of body weight. And I would sustain that all the way through until race day, because that stops me feeling bloated, stops me feeling lethargic, like I'm carrying a lot of water. And so did that answer the question, Georgia?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And where the carb load goes, like Matt's always mentioned this in the past, and it's something that I learnt as it went on, is that it doesn't need to be as complicated as you think it does. And taking what Matt's just said about grams and stuff, let's jump into kind of the food side of things. You don't need to go out and just be like, I need to go and eat like 2 pizzas, a burger. I need to be having like 2 bowls of pasta, like all this like cookies, all this stuff. Like keep your diet the same, just add in more carbohydrates to your meal. And Matt has taught me this so many times, is that, you know, if you're having your normal like chicken and rice and veggies for dinner, possibly less veggies, because obviously you're looking into that fiber side of things, and that can play with your gut a little bit on race day, but adding in like extra rice instead of, you know, maybe add in like the extra rice and a piece of bread, or like a little bit of garlic bread if that's what you like, or, you know, and then for your dessert, you might have something that's a little bit more carby for the dessert side of things, or adding in like a glass of pineapple juice with your dinner and stuff like that, instead of feeling like you have to go out and have this like crazy different diet, because you don't want to be changing things that much before the race, is actually just adding a little bit more than you would normally had into your meal. So, and the best one, like Matt has said as well, is like if you normally have 2 crumpets for your breakfast, have 3 crumpets or have 4 crumpets, or whatever you can handle to get to the carb amount. But that for me has been a lot easier than having to mentally be like, oh, how many carbs is in a whole thing of pizza, and how many carbs is in this random bread roll that I got at the bakery, like all of that stuff. It can be quite stressful to think about, whereas if you just add it into a normal meal, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, I think I normally say for especially like rice is a great example. Girls add half a cup, guys add a full cup, like to whatever you normally have. So if you normally have 1 cup of rice, have 2 cups. If you normally have half a cup of rice, have one full cup of rice. Like I think that's the easiest way. It's obviously not an exact science, but if you are looking to add that mental load, it's just a very easy thing.
Yeah. And, you know, I know there's a lot of people who have a stigma around carbohydrates, and they've had their whole life of being like, I've got to cut back on carbs and stuff. Use this as a time to just be like, I just get to have a big old bowl of my normal, like I get to have pasta, and I'm not worried about like, oh, I probably only need to have 1 cup of pasta. Like have your 1.5 cups and enjoy it. You've done all the training. Like the carb loading is so much fun. Enjoy that. You don't need to make it too serious. And yeah, as Matt said, just do the half cup or the full cup and enjoy the process because I don't know, it's my favorite part of a race is the carb load.
Yeah. The other thing that, again, like George and I have spoken about this quite a lot, but this is not the time to buy 14 packs of cookies and blocks of chocolate, etc.
Yeah.
So you've eaten healthy all this way. Like you're at this point getting ready for the marathon, you're a high performance vehicle. Like you are a supercar. Do not go put cheap fuel in it. Like keep putting that high quality fuel in it. And Georgia hit on too, reducing fiber, very, very important. And don't have that huge meal each night, like the 3 or 4 days that you're carb loading. I know historically Georgia and I say before race night, but I'm kind of taking it to, I don't want to be going to bed on a huge meal just because I don't want it to affect my sleep. So I'm that lunchtime and maybe like 3 or 4 p.m. They're kind of like my two big meals of the day. And then I'm trying to, go to bed on a relatively light, rice pudding and like banana, like really, really light, digestible, honey, those sorts of things. So like I'm not going to bed feeling bloated, heavy. My gut's got to try and work on digesting while I'm trying to rest and sleep, etc. So they would be like my big takeaways for carb loading for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully people have practiced this for their long runs. Like, for your big major long run, I would hope that you guys have done a bit of practice with your carb loading, a really light carb load prior. If you haven't, it's not a big deal. It's more just what your body can handle. And so if you have practiced it though, just go back to what you practice. Do the same thing. Don't try and change things too much. Otherwise, like, oh my gosh, it's just going to end up being no pun intended, but it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all the kind of things that I was thinking of and what we know that our, TPP athletes or you guys always say to us that you panic about pre-race. Is there anything else you want to add there, Matt? Before we get into some questions?
Yeah, the only last thing I'll add for just we did speak about this last week, G, but just give yourself enough time race morning. Get up early.
Yeah.
Eat. If you're nervous in the morning, give yourself time to eat. And then if that first breakfast doesn't go down so well, have time to like push it away, go get ready, go do whatever, come back. And then even if you got to take it in the car or whatever, or public transport with you, have time to make a second piece of toast, second crumpet, whatever it is, bagel, and be able to digest it. A lot of times I've found that like I'll wake up, go to eat. I'm probably not ready to eat. Push it to one side, go do some other stuff, come back, and then I can eat and do it. So plenty of time, get there to race start with heaps of time, bathroom, all the things, double check. And like, so you're not rushed because again, all of that nervous, anxious energy is going to eat away at you. And by the time you get to the start line, even if you don't feel it, your central nervous system is going to be so cooked that you're just not going to have the race. So give yourself time. Don't stress, don't rush, be in control, be confident.
Perfect. Well, I actually have 2 quick tips that I want to share with you guys for the race. My first one is if you're traveling to Sydney and you are flying, I want everyone to put their race kit, everything down to gels. Obviously, just make note of if there's any liquid things if you're coming from overseas. I think you should be fine. But I want you to put everything for your race day in a carry-on luggage and you are taking that on the plane with you. I mean socks, shoes, outfit, sunnies, everything. Your headphones, the works. I want it all in a carry-on bag and I want it all to go on the plane with you because the last thing you want is your bag to get lost. I mean, touch wood, that doesn't happen to anyone. But I mentioned this to my friend today. She's coming up from Melbourne. She's flying. I said, all you have to do is I want you to put your entire kit in a carry-on bag. And she was like, oh my God, I did not even think about that because I saw a guy today who had said that he'd done a race and his bag went missing and it had his entire kit in it. So he had to go out and buy everything. And that is just not what you want to be doing a couple of days before the race. So that's one thing. Put all your kit in a carry-on bag, take it with you, treat it like medicine. This is stuff you can't lose. And then my second tip is on race day, take a disposable bag that you can throw out, whether that's a Ziploc bag or something like that. In that you can put your electrolytes in a disposable, obviously not great for the environment, but just chuck it in a bottle you can chuck out and some toilet paper and put that in a bag, take it with you with your jumper that you're going to donate to charity. And so that when you get there, you don't get to the Portaloos, there's no toilet paper. You're not going, oh, what am I going to do with my drink bottle? Or what am I going to do with this? Like, just get there, have what you need. If your breakfast is in that, have it in that when you get there, and then chuck it out. Because I've definitely been to a start line and there's been no toilet paper, and no one wants to be running 42.2 with, yeah. Because everyone knows you get to the start line and you got to do like a nervous wee or a nervous poo. So make sure you come equipped with what you need to stay nice and dry. So, and then, yeah. And another thing I also want to say is in your finish bag, I said this to my friend as well, pop a spare pair of nice clean socks, because your feet are going to be so gross after the marathon. Some slides like Birkenstocks or something like that. And then, as we said last week, put in that, all the post-race stuff you want to have. For me, it's the Coke and the chips. But that's my little tips I wanted to share with you guys before I forgot about them. Okay, cool. I have a couple of questions if we have time, Matt.
Yeah, mate. All the time in the world.
Okay, cool. So question here from John. He said, hey, Georgia and Matt, loved your episode last week about triathlons and couldn't have come at a better time, as I've been considering training for a triathlon after Sydney Marathon. I was wondering, if I did start to train for a triathlon, will I lose all of my marathon fitness? I know cross training is a helpful way to maintain fitness, but will it ruin all of my hard work if I still want to run marathons in the future?
Well, John, first thing, performanceproject.com.au, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen.
We'll program you accordingly so that you don't fuck it up.
But on a serious note, so I actually talked to a lot of my athletes about this, especially athletes who are doing like back-to-back marathons, like Gold Coast into Sydney, or I've got one athlete going Gold Coast to New York. Even that's like a decent turnaround, but it's still hard. What goes up must come down. So when you peak for marathon fitness, you cannot maintain that fitness and conditioning. Like, you must come down the other side. Like, that's kind of the whole point of a training block, is you reach this peak, you come down on the other side. What we're trying to limit is how far down you go. So if you started your marathon block at 0 and you built all the way up to, let's say, 50, and that was your peak, when you come down the other side, we want to catch you at like 20. We want that. And then the 20 is now your new baseline. So then when you do your next training block, you might go to 70. And then you come down, you go to 40, and then so on and so forth. That's how we stack fitness over years and years and years. Where people make the mistake is they let themselves go back to 0. They have a huge off season, get on the beers, go to Europe, do whatever. And they're like, oh, I've lost all my fitness. No shit. So... You'd be shocked. They're like, I haven't trained for 6 months and I can't run anymore. You're like, yeah, I wonder why.
But I ran a marathon. Why can't I run one now?
Yeah. So you will lose some fitness. You will lose some conditioning. That is part of it. The way I always try and frame it to my athletes is like, what are we focused on right now? Like, you don't just want to be able. You don't need to just be able to roll out of bed and run a marathon whenever you want. It's cool. Like, it's a nice thing to be able to do, but like, it's not essential. So I was like, after your marathon, if you want to focus on triathlon, you need to learn to be a triathlete. And that means putting time, energy, and focus into swim and bike. And you are such an established runner now that we can afford to let your running come down at the cost of bringing your bike and swim up to meet your run. Once they are all level, then we start building all three simultaneously. So yes, you will lose fitness. Yes, you will lose conditioning. Yes, there are some negatives, but it comes at huge positives as bringing those other skills up. Once those 3 skills are up, you'll actually end up being a fitter athlete because you're just doing more aerobic training. Like, anyone who is even doing sprint triathlon, Olympic distance triathlon, the level of training just in terms of sheer hours does make a pretty considerable jump compared to just if you're just training for running, doing one discipline. So you can make the argument that you would actually become fitter, more aerobically fit by cross training. And then once you decide that, okay, I want to train for a marathon, you already have this huge aerobic base that we just need to put some conditioning into and some specificity. So you would still be able to go back and forth. You would still be able to jump between different sports. You just need to understand like there's always a trade-off. There's always a cost that, if you're focused on 3 sports, you'll be less good at one individual, but that does not mean you cannot jump back and forth between the 2.
Perfect. Great answer. Love it. That's helpful for me as well when I ever want to do a triathlon in the future. Not Ironman.
I've lost interest in George doing an Ironman now. I'm focused on Millie.
He's fixating on making her an Olympian. We had a question a couple of weeks ago from Tori, so thank you for holding off, Tori. I know you've been waiting for this answer. She said, today I went back to episode 13, which was our strength training for endurance runners, and I have a question. I'm currently training for my first full marathon in mid-November. Across the week, I'm running 3 times, also doing strength training, but tend to only do 1 big session a week and then 2 Pilates reformer classes. I love my Pilates studio and I really enjoy the variety of this with my other training. I've noticed a huge difference in my core strength this year and haven't had any calf issues, which I've had in previous years. My question is, I know most plans say you should do 2 strength training sessions alongside your running days, but is it okay to keep my week as it is by only doing 1 heavy session in the gym and 2 Pilates sessions?
Yeah, so this is a great question. It's actually like really well written. I'm going to give some context first, and then I'm going to give an answer that goes against that. I'm going to contradict myself, but it's based on experience.
Cool.
So the gold standard for endurance athletes is 2 strength sessions per week. That's been the cost analysis that we just spoke about, like the cost. I've just lost what I was going to say. Cost. Words, English, speak.
Mate, I can't help you here. I got no idea what you're talking about.
The time invested, the return on investment, we'll go for return on investment, by going to 3 to 4 strength sessions versus what it gives. This is just runners or endurance athletes specifically.
Yep.
Let's say you're doing an hour-long gym session, going from 2 hours to 3 hours to 4 hours, did not prevent injuries anymore, did not make you any stronger, did not make you any better of a runner.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I really like to program 2 to 3 strength sessions for TPP athletes every single week, giving them everything from plyometrics through to heavy sessions. So not all of our sessions are strictly like heavy gym sessions. So we might do a lot of bodyweight stuff, plyometrics, which is all like reactive things, and I think that is optimal. And that's something that all of our coaches use, is that 2 to 3 gym sessions per week, combination of heavy stuff through to plyometrics. For Tori, anecdotally, and this is just something I've experienced, I don't know how many athletes I've coached now with TPP, over 200, is a lot of girls don't love getting in the gym. And again, I'm going to speak in generality, so bear with me. A lot of girls don't like getting in the gym. And maybe going to do that 1 strength session is like, that's a huge win for you. And like, that is just, that's massive. That's the only way you're going to get in the gym. If that is you, absolutely fantastic. Awesome. There are a lot of girls that I coach who I'm like, hey, can we just go to Pilates twice a week? And that's all of their strength. Because for them, they're not going to do strength anyway. They don't like going to the gym. That they don't feel confident doing maybe the training without a friend there, or don't know the movements. And it's hard as an online coach to sort of coach through strength training without, like, I guess, being on a Zoom call or something like that. So I'm like, cool. Like, can we go and just do Pilates twice a week? And for the girls who I coach, again, speaking to the females specifically, is the girls who I've convinced to go from 0 strength training to 2 Pilates sessions per week, there has been a huge uptick in their durability, their core strength, and they're just not getting as many niggles and things now. And again, all anecdotal. There probably is some sort of study out there that proves that Pilates, there is some crossover benefit with running, because it targets all the little stabilizer muscles.
Yeah.
But that is my thing. Like the science says 2 to 3 strength sessions per week heavy through to plyometric. Anecdotally, I have seen huge success with female runners who are doing two Pilates sessions per week consistently, and we've had a lot of success with that as TPP. So they're my two answers.
Yeah, I think that's spot on because I would be the same. I think for myself, I really found Pilates super helpful when I started to do it. And I remember thinking, wow, I really wish I had have done this when I was running. And so I think, Tori, that would be super helpful. And the heavy session, definitely, I personally wouldn't drop. I always found really beneficial for my running. I think if you can try and do some plyometrics at home, that would also be really beneficial as well. I think trying to get in some sort of stuff maybe at home, because, you know, I know getting to the gym can be tricky, but plyometrics for me, and, you know, definitely all that single leg stuff, doing that at home, or even trying to do some before your Pilates session or something, would be also beneficial in my eyes. But what Matt said is spot on, and I think that's going to be really helpful for your training as well. And good luck for your marathon in November. Not long to go.
Yeah. There is just one thing I'll add to that. Just because you said, Georgia, doing some plyometrics before Pilates. There is something that's coming up especially in the ultra space. Again, no science that I have seen behind it, but I'm noticing a trend with the elite athletes is them finishing any of their runs, but runs generally with a little bit of intensity. So probably not your easy recovery runs, but interval sessions, long runs, etc. And then them doing like 5 minutes of plyometrics. Like one day they might just do calf work, one day they might do like split squats, one day they might do some like foot pattern drills, etc. And they're just doing that, and that's like I'm not going to say that's their strength work, but that's their plyometrics done for the week. So they finish their run, while they buy the car, they're doing 30 calf raises into split squats. Don't know if there's any science behind it. I'm noticing a trend. It makes sense on a bunch of different levels. But it's also something you could do, which I wouldn't be opposed to.
Yeah, I love that. Super handy. You could definitely do like, you know, single leg jumping up onto like the gutter or something while you're waiting to like cool down, all that stuff.
Or a park bench and doing split squats. Yeah, heaps of things.
Yeah, heaps of stuff you can do next to your car. Gutter, park bench. You know, you don't necessarily need to go to the gym to get your plyometrics in. All right. Well, guys, good luck for Sydney Marathon. We're so excited to hear how you go. We hope we see you all at our Shakeout run. Just to recap that super quick, Saturday the 29th, 8:30 a.m. at Black and White Espresso Bar in the Rocks. We will see you there. Can't wait. Hopefully this episode has helped you not be so nervous about Sydney. You've got this. Just trust your training and trust everything you've done. Try and change that mindset to something a bit more positive. But yeah, this has been episode 79 of Beyond the Finish Line. If you're not already, head over to Instagram and follow us at Beyond the Finish Line _pod. Head over to wherever you get your podcasts, like, subscribe, download, share it with a friend so maybe they can help, you know, learn some things as well. And if you'd like to be coached by the Performance Project, head to performanceproject.com.au and drop us a email, message us, do what you need to do. We would love to have you on board and look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks.
Hey, Rick.
Bye.